Hello and welcome back to Bookish Brits. My name is Michelle and I'm here today to do a joint book and film review of If I Stay by Gayle Forman. I haven't yet seen the film adaptation of If I Stay, but I'm hoping to film this now. I'm going to go and see it this afternoon and come back and record my thoughts on it straight away. Now, I first read If I Stay back in 2009 and I loved it. I actually bought this interesting looking hardback for £1.50 in a local charity shop, and I've been really loath to give away my copy of it to anyone because I just had such an emotional reaction to when I first read it. If you didn't already know, If I Stay is the story of a teenager called Mia who is involved in a car accident, and she sort of wakes up at the scene of the accident. And she's in this sort of in-between place. She's not fully alive, but she's not dead. And she's in this place and she comes to realize that it's a choice that she gets to make, whether she dies or she stays and lives. And while she is in this in-between place, she has all of these memories and flashbacks about her life beforehand, with her family, with her little brother, with music and her relationship with her brother. And I found it really interesting both then and now to come back to this unusual sort of format in which we're seeing both things at the same time. We're seeing how her progress in the hospital is going. She can see the visitors, she can hear what they're saying, she kind of knows what's going on around her, but at the same time she's really stuck in her own head about other things that had happened beforehand, and it's these things that help her to make this decision. Another thing that I love the most about If I Stay is how much the book feels like it's about belonging and about family, because at the start of the book you can see this progression that Mia goes through about how she feels kind of like out of place in her own family, in that her parents are both kind of rockers and they're quite cool and into the rock music scene, and her interest and passion lies in classical music, and she always felt like that was something that split her apart from her family and she didn't really fit in. And in the same way she feels that quite strongly in her relationship with Adam, who is a member of this rock band. And they share this same enthusiasm and passion for music, but it's very different passions in music. Like they don't share the same language, or they're not really interested in the same musicians and things. So she has all of these doubts about, you know, why are they together? And what I really loved about this book is that it uses this really traumatic experience in order for Mia to find that belonging and that sense of family that she needs. A lot of people come together around Mia as she's in the hospital, and Mia really comes to realize that there's a much wider definition of family than she first realized, and that really got to me on an emotional level when I was reading this book. And the other thing that I really love about the book is the many different versions of love that we see, like with Mia's best friend. That whole relationship is amazing. I loved Mia's relationship with her parents, which is a lot more relaxed and liberal and everything, but I really enjoyed their interactions with each other, how much they seem to care about each other as well as respect and just like each other. Mia's little brother Teddy is the cutest thing ever, and his story arc throughout the book is one that does make me cry just thinking about it, so we'll quickly move on. There's also Mia's grandparents, and I think that Mia's Gramps in particular is one of my favorite characters. He's a lot quieter in his feelings. He's not one to be overly vocal or touchy-feely or anything. He's sort of there, he's present, but there's not a lot of like conversation going on, but at the same time I really felt how strongly he felt about Mia throughout, and his visit to Mia in the hospital is, I think, one of the strongest emotional points for me in the book. I really loved that relationship, and just so many others as well. I think that all of these very different people coming together and connecting in these different ways is what I loved a lot about this book, and I think that's really what I want to see happening in the film adaptation. I want to see not only the chemistry between Adam and Mia, which I think is a strong point, but I also want to see this great relationship between Mia and her parents and everyone else around her, especially her grandparents and Kim, which I think are the main key players. But I'm really glad that I read the book again. I'm really glad that it was still as emotionally not effective. I'm really glad that it managed to make me feel as strongly the second time around as it did so many years ago, and I can't wait to watch the film adaptation. I'm really excited about it, and I will be telling you all about that very soon. I've just come back from seeing If I Stay, the film, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty close adaptation to the original story. I thought it was quite emotional and a lot of fun to watch. I didn't cry as much as I possibly thought that I would have done. I was really expecting to go in there and just sort of cry my eyes out in the same way that I did when reading the book, but it wasn't that like emotionally difficult to watch. I think that a lot of the changes that they did made it so that more of the emotional impact happened towards the end, and rather than like hard hitting right from the start and a hard hit right in the middle. I did think that it was a little bit softer in parts, and I'm not sure really if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I did enjoy the entire film throughout, and especially when I was reading the books, the second time in particular, I was really thinking that this was a book that would really benefit from having like a film adaptation, because we were able to hear a lot of the music that played such an important role in both Adam and Mia's whole family's life. So it was nice to hear that sort of accompaniment together with their story. I did quite like hearing especially Adam's rock music, even though probably in my head it was a little bit more like harder sounding rock, but it was really interesting to hear, and all the classical music. It was really nice to hear that combination and how those two melded together. My favorite scene from the film is definitely when Mia's Gramps visits her in the hospital. That was the moment in the film that really sort of cracked me open a little bit, like emotionally. So on the whole, really enjoyed my experience there. And while I was probably expecting more emotion and tears, what I ended up with was a really sweet film. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, or subscribe to this video if you've liked it, and I will see you next time.